you mentioned as well that when you started out, you're a shy girl, and you kind of were thrown into the limelight a bit. So how did you handle that? Did you not? Did you feel like an imposter at any point, or did you just kind of take it all in your stride?
I had my moments. I had, like, for instance, whenever I would be asked to do something, I would be like, why are you asking me? But then I think sometimes you just have to believe in what you're doing and put yourself out there. In terms of putting myself out of my comfort zone, yes, like, would I be extremely nervous 5 minutes before walking onto a stage to cook a meal and talk at the same time to a crowd of people? Absolutely. And, I would want to run in the other direction, actually. But then when you're in the moment and you're in the flow and everything's just clicking, and then you look out into the audience and people are nodding, and then they come out for sharing it with me, um, then it becomes a whole lot more than you. It's not really about you anymore. It's about what you're sharing and what you can give to people and the value you can give to them. And so that was what helped me, I think, overcome any sense of imposter syndrome or self-doubt. It was believing that what I had to share mattered, and that there would be people out there who cared, and that that was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I really like how you've been able to overcome that and think, and what you're saying about actually it's not about me, it's about what I'm able to share and offer, and that kind of, I guess, space in between what you're offering and the person or the people that are receiving that, and then being able to enjoy that and enjoy what you're offering, and it might spark something for them, and they can kind of run with it as well, and that's really what it is, to kind of be an influencer and to make a difference in people's lives.
The last few years, you've had some amazing opportunities. Like you've written couple of cookbooks. I even saw your appearance on BBC News. So, how talk to us about the kind of the rise of your popularity and fame, and also how this year, the year of the pandemic, as we call it, how that's kind of affected things.
Popularity and fame. Wow. Don't know about that.
I see your Instagram numbers. Don't be too humble.
No, the thing I will say to that, actually, and this is something I stand by and I really believe in, is consistency. It's showing up every day for the thing you love. The Vegan Nigerian, I think some people might go onto my Instagram now and see the number of followers I have and think that it just happened in a flash. But this is like almost 8 years in the making of just putting content out there, and in many regards not caring too much about the popularity aspect of it. Because if you're chasing the numbers and you're chasing the followers, I mean, at some point you're probably going to get discouraged because you're not getting the kind of reaction you think you deserve or whatever. But if you're doing the work because you're passionate about it, I think it just adds up over time. And not giving up, just making sure you're putting out a little bit every week. If you want to get into blogging or you want to get into cooking, it's making sure you're building that portfolio for yourself over a period. That was probably the recipe to get into where I am right now. And then, so yeah, of course, by 2019, I decided to go full time with a Vegan Nigerian. I had worked as a chef for a bit, grown disillusioned with the chef lifestyle, moved into publishing.
Why
Into publishing.
No, why'd you get disillusioned?
So really long hours, first of all. There were some days where I would be doing like evening shifts from about 3 till midnight. And so as a 20-something-year-old, not being able to have a social life, like sleeping during the day, working during the night, I was like, is this really what I want for myself for the next 10 or so years? So there was that point. And then the other side of it was working in a restaurant is very, very different from cooking as a self-employed chef. As a self-employed chef, your creativity knows no bounds. You can create whatever you want. You can experiment as far as you want. With a restaurant, you're working within certain roles. you're under the head chef, you're following their direction, which is great if you want to hone your skills and develop yourself in that sense. But after 2 years of doing that, I just thought, okay, I want to like focus more on like creating my own recipes, like food that I really enjoy and that I'm passionate about. Um, and so, yeah, that kind of pushed me out of the restaurant chef world and into publishing, which is more closely related to what I studied. Um, and I don't know whether it was just one of those moments where I thought, if I don't try this now, I probably never will. So just see what happens. And also the Vegan Nigerian wasn't at the point where it could sustain me financially. So you know, goodness knows what would have happened if I had just left the restaurant job and decided to just go full steam ahead. I don't know whether it would have worked. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I'll never know now, but I felt like I needed that security blanket, and the publishing job definitely gave me that. And so I did that for 2 years and got to a point where I felt I could go full time with a Vegan Nigerian. And so 2019, I left my job and had this fun experimental year of trying and doing everything. You know, I would get an email and I would just say yes. Someone wanted me to cater like the Indian pre-ceremony, pre-wedding ceremony. I said yes, you know.
Why not?
Why not? I got asked to do a pop-up in Paris. I said yes. Someone asked me to do like a cookery demo at a festival in the Netherlands. I just went for it. You could probably say, oh gosh, she was maybe a little bit all over the place. Like, what is she doing? But coming into 2020, I see it now as a blessing because the year allowed me to see all the different avenues that I could take, what was possible in each sphere. So aside from the in-person activities that I was doing, I could also do online stuff and really build on that, you know, whether it was focusing on the marketing of my cookbook or doing classes as well. And then, yeah, the pandemic hit, you know, crazy year for everyone, I'm sure. But yeah, similarly for me, I had to cancel so many different events. I had to cancel a vegan festival I was supposed to be at, canceled weddings, canceled, you know, I was supposed to do like a chef residency with a theater in London, and that got canceled as well. So yeah, like really, really big jobs that could have been like, whoa, great progression in my career. And then all of that just kind of fell to the side, and I had to pivot and kind of go back to the drawing board and see what I could do and see what was within my control. Now, because I had the background in blogging and online content creation, I knew I could always go back to that. So I just kind of doubled my effort in that sense. And I made use of Zoom, good old Zoom that everyone's growing tired of now, but you know, and I did a few online cooking classes, and then, yeah, got some partnerships with some vegan brands as well, just seeing what I could do within my control. And I would say it's, in spite of the weirdness of the year, it's, yeah, it's been quite good for my brand, I would say.
I think it's really good what you were able to pivot and, you know, not take, because for a lot of people, they could feel quite defeated. Especially when all those big opportunities, like you said, you had a kind of pipeline. But I mean, we all hope that things go back to some form of normality soon, and with that, those opportunities will also be there.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, for a lot of people, I mean, going through this in the creative space, I would say like now is a really good time to yeah, like touch base with your audience as well and see ways that you can continue serving them through the online space. You know, there are possibilities there too, worth exploring. So don't give up, and yeah, hopefully things will start to go back to normal at some point.
I was just saying another important thing that you mentioned was how you had a side hustle, like this was your side hustle. And I think that's a very good or big takeaway for the audience, because it's important, if you do have a passion which is beyond what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, that you try and find a way to, you know, continue to continue to follow it. And whether that's a side hustle where you're doing it on the side and you're doing bits and pieces where you can, or whether, and eventually similar to yourself, that side hustle becomes your full-time job, which I think would be the dream for so many people, to actually be doing a job that they love doing, which they're passionate about. Because like you said, building up a big following, building up a brand takes a lot of work. So if it's not authentic, if it's not something that you actually care about, eventually it's going to fall by the wayside. But you've shown that if you are passionate about the hustle, and you use good business knowledge, use your connections, and you also use those opportunities that come up, that you can make something of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I would say as well is, you know, while you are balancing your side hustle with your job, is to just continue investing in yourself through learning. You know, there are many things that I needed to learn about what it took to build systems around what I do. And so I would listen to podcasts, I would read books, you know, whenever I would have some downtime to do so. And I think little things like that as well will keep you inspired and keep you motivated that, okay, one day I will get to a point where I can do this. And also being very practical. Like I can be somewhat risk averse a lot of times. Like, you know, yes, I do love to bet on myself, but I also like to make sure that I'm prudent. And so having a job while doing a side hustle, it worked for me. And I would encourage people who are doing that to also kind of be thinking very critically about very practical things like their savings, for instance. Like, can you use your job to save up enough that you can live freely for 6 months, for instance? Give you that grace period, because once you leave your job and you feel secure in those first few months, then it kind of gives you that sense of security, and you're not frantically trying to figure out how this is going to work. So yeah, just educate yourself, be practical, but yeah, allow that passion as well to keep guiding you through it. For instance, biographies of entrepreneurs. I read Shoe Dog by the Nike founder. And then I read it's a really good one. And I would listen to podcasts like Don't Keep Your Day Job, which is amazing. Akimbo by Seth Godin. I read this book called Dear Female Founder, which gives a lot of practical insight into sort of starting your own business, and just lots of little random entrepreneurship books, you know, like turn your passion into your career. And yeah, you know, very generic names, but actually full of nugget wisdom and good nuggets in there.
So yeah, tell us about your plantain cookbook.
Oh yeah. So yeah, like I said before, I tried to get a cookbook published, but that didn't happen. And it's still like a dream of mine to get like a full-blown vegan Nigerian cookbook done. But the plantain cookbook came about because I just love plantain, first of all. And
hallelujah.
You know, I know, right? And you know, I was just sitting around one day thinking, gosh, like I'm sure there are so many different ways that you can cook plantain. It's probably a really versatile ingredient. Like, can I come up with 40 different ways to cook it? And so I just put pen to paper and put some ideas down and thought to myself that this could be a fun project to do. And because it's, you know, only 40 recipes, it seemed doable. I could self-publish it. You know, the cost of printing wouldn't be too high. In fact, there are really no cost of printing, because with the platform I use, they only print it when people buy it. And then I also have it available as a PDF that people can download as well. So the cost was very low. All I had to focus on was really the recipe testing and the food photography. And those were things that I was doing with my blog anyway. So it was just like an extension of that. And I just had fun doing it and decided to put it out in the world and see what people thought.
So what's your favorite way to cook plantain?
It's a difficult question, but I have a recipe in the book for chocolate chip plantain pancakes. And it's like the most indulgent like ridiculous, yummy thing. So yeah, I love that.
Okay, chocolate chip plantain. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You get that natural sweetness from the plantains as well. So good.
Yeah, it's honestly my favorite foods. But I think if I knew even more ways to cook it, then I'd be in trouble because I already
it's
eat
just so good. I don't know any Nigerian that doesn't like plantain.
I know.
Like we were fighting over plantain last weekend.
You see if you want to drive a wedge between us.
You know, like you'd be counting, wait, how many plantains do you have? No, you've taken more than me.
What you have to do, just leave one plantain in the middle and say, which one of you eats it, and we will go to war.
For real. Plantain can divide as much as it unites.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. So what would you say has been the best thing about your journey with the Vegan Nigerian so far?
Ooh, the best thing. So I would say the period when I was doing the pop-ups, where I would like hold the events in London, as hard work as it was, my goodness, like I loved meeting the people that came to the pop-ups because it was just such an inspiring space. Like conversations would be flowing, you know, people would be gathered over food. It felt like just a sense of community. And that was what just, it lit a fire inside of me whenever I would witness that or be around that. And it just like inspired more creativity inside of me. So yeah, I would say like all the opportunities that I had to meet the people were people who had been reading my blog for a few years. And so like being able to put a face to them was like, wow, cool. Like I'm not talking to some bots online, like this is good.
Oh, cool.
Oh, really good. Okay, I mean, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about veganism, learned a lot about hustling and growing a passion into a business and actually making it sustainable. How can our audience find you? How can they kind of keep in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can find me online everywhere at Vegan Nigerian. I'm most active on Instagram, Facebook, occasionally Twitter, although Twitter scares me. And
that's a whole other subject.
honestly. And then my home base is my website. So that's www.vegannigerian.com, where you can find recipes and other bits and bobs.
And where can we buy the cookbook?
Yes, so you can do so directly from my website, or you can also find it on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you so much for speaking with us. It's been I've really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you to our listeners for listening. This is the Be in Bane podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Be in Bane. So
bye. All right, bye.